That's why I asked Jeff Mosher.
Yeah.
That's what I asked Mosher. I said, kudos to people getting better positions. Some people obviously were handpicked off Howie's tree, but are some people getting out of there because of whatever might be going on that they don't like within the organization? And I'm not saying there's any tension in the organization right now, but you have to ask the question. It's a viable question, because you don't see this. You don't see this many people leaving at the same time. One or two maybe, but this many, that doesn't happen.
All right, let me play this cut for you. Staying on the theme that we were discussing here, and this is Howie, who joined us. It was 2 weeks ago, somewhere around there. We talked to him about any and everything. But here's Howie on the turnover that's been taking place in this front office.
Positions in the NFL also.
I'll tell you, it's a challenge. Normally this time of year, it kind of the foot comes off the gas a little bit, but you look at it, Joe D, AB, Andrew Berry, Pat, Ian, Brandon. I mean, Pat Stewart was named Vice President of Player Personnel. We lost Wayne Joseph. We lost John Hill. These guys are 9 people who've left here.
Yep.
They're important parts of what we were doing. And so just like a team, like we had to retool, and we had that 3-year run. And then we took a embarrassing step back, and we had to retool in the front office side. You just got to look at it as an opportunity. Let's get some talented guys. And I think we started that process. We got a lot of good people that are coming in, and we're not done yet. We're still looking. So.
All right. So there's Howie. So I think, again, just to be clear, this happens all over the place with successful organizations. People leave. It's like anything else. You guys know. I mean, you leave the smaller market to go to the bigger market.
Absolutely.
And get to take more responsibility. Understandable. Barrett, you climbed the chain of, you were a producer back in the day. You were an intern after your football career, and you work your way up. Totally understandable. But that's not the case with all of this. And you just wonder, what exactly is going on here and why this many people? That's the strange part of it.
Well, there it is. Because, is this organization so good that people are trying to pattern themselves after the Eagles? I could see if we had a bunch of championships, we only have one Super Bowl.
Right.
But yet it seems as though, our executives are the creme of the creme. Come on, man. I mean, what makes Howie Roseman, how he does things so special? I mean, even thinking about, Howie Roseman and where he has weathered everything.
Every storm. Storm.
He has weathered everything, man, from losing to winning, to a coach coming in and being a dictator and kicking him out, making him go down the hallway, and then coming back as a fiery phoenix. He's done it all. What makes Howie so good at what he does that other organizations are starting to look and pick fruits off his tree, as opposed to him going out and picking other fruits from somebody else's tree?
Look, it's a good question.
Here, we also have to keep this in mind and watch this closely. A lot of times, it's not often we see a mass exodus like we've seen in the Eagles front office over the past 6 months or so. And a lot of times, sure, you're going to promote from within, you're going to bring some new ideas in, but it doesn't always mesh. You had the right group of people that help you over the last 2 drafts get to where you are right now, which is a decent looking team on paper. Now you have to wonder, can you get the same productivity out of a new group, a new mindset of people trying to mesh from scouting to decision-making to executing the way you've had it in recent years. A lot of times when that happens, the productivity goes down instead of going up, and then all of a sudden you see a couple of people jettisoned again before or after the draft, and you're bringing in more. You don't want to be a revolving door organization, because a lot of good people will shy away from that organization because they don't want to be a quick fix. They want to go in and put a niche on whatever they're going to do and help enhance their resume. But if you start to become a revolving door organization, you're going to miss out on some potential top candidates because of their mindset. So out of necessity, Howie's had to retool, so to speak, the people around him. who help him make football decisions.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be really interesting to see in the immediate future, and obviously going into next year's draft, exactly how he leans on them and how much he openly admits that he is leaning on certain people to help him get to where he needs to go.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go back. No, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Is it a mad exodus that people are picking off the tree, or is it a mass exodus that, all right, I can't deal with Howie?
Yeah, jumping ship.
But
Well,
that's
you wonder.
that's why I asked Jeff Mosher.
Yeah.
That's what I asked Mosher. I said, kudos to people getting better positions. Some people obviously were handpicked off Howie's tree, but are some people getting out of there because of whatever might be going on that they don't like within the organization? And I'm not saying there's any tension in the organization right now, but you have to ask the question. It's a viable question, because you don't see this. You don't see this many people leaving at the same time. One or two maybe, but this many, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and what you worry about is, I think Howie was humbled big time after the chip stuff went down and he came back, right? And then, of course, 2 years later, they have the unbelievable season, they win it. Then perhaps there was a period of time where, you kind of feeling yourself a little bit, and then things go off the rails again in 2020, and maybe you regroup and start changing the way that you're thinking about things, and they've bounced back in what appears to be 2 straight really good drafts, and they make the playoffs last year. You hope that it's not a situation where Howie gets into these modes where he's difficult to work with, or he's not as it's an autonomous thing where he's not, spreading the love around and taking the, I don't know. Like, it's impossible unless you're inside of those doors or a deeper investigative dive to know exactly what's going on. But the number of people leaving, and as we talked about a little bit earlier, maybe not being promoted from within, maybe elevated, they'd rather go elsewhere, puts up a red flag for me. I'm concerned. I don't know. Like, ultimately, Howie's still here, so I don't think it affects anything in the interim. But a year or two down the line is when you really want to start looking at this.
Hey, Rob, I don't think Howie was humbled by the Chip Kelly fiasco. I think he was embarrassed because, his buddy, Jeffrey Lurie, allowed Chip Kelly to dictate on jettisoning Howie out of there. And that really, whenever I think about it, it surprises me that Jeffrey gave Chip Kelly that type of power. I don't think Howie did anything right or wrong to get shoved down the hallway. I think Jeffrey was so enamored with Chip Kelly and his college prep pedigree and his new wave offense and all that stuff that he got caught up in himself and basically told Chip, whatever you need, I'm willing to do it. And when Chip took that team to the playoffs the first 2 years, after that team was abysmal the previous year, it basically just proved what Jeffrey was hoping, that Chip Kelly is the mind of the future that we need for this organization. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it spiraled out of control to where Chip Kelly thought he had more power than he really should have, to the point they finally fired him before his final season was over in Philadelphia. But the fact that Jeffrey Lurie turned on his buddy, Howie Roseman, for a few minutes, that was shocking in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I was blown away. I mean, frankly, but what I think, Gunnar, the fallout from that is, I almost feel like it's a Teflon situation now, because Jeffrey regrets the way he handled that. And even if Howie's really struggling, which we've seen him, he's shown the ability to bounce back pretty quickly.
Right.
But I feel like it's almost like no matter what happens, he's not going to do that again to his guy. It just sort of feels that way. I know people will cite, hey, he got rid of Joe Banner or whatever happened with Joe Banner, and he got rid of Andy Reid, so he will do it. But, man, it almost feels like there's a tighter bond there with Howie than there was even with anybody else.
Well, I think he's earning it right now, though. That's the difference between then and before. Right. He's done enough now that he's earning his keep. So, Howie, like it or not, and I do like Howie. I do like him. I like the direction he's going. He's learned from his mistakes, hopefully. He's shown that he's learned from his mistakes. He's drafted where he needs to draft it. The SEC is now his friend. He's no longer going to Big 12 players anymore, So, to me, he's made the turnaround. So, I gotta give him his kudos for what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've already thought that he was a good guy going into free agency. You know, he's a master going into free agency and getting things done. You know, he's proven it again this year. We're bringing in, you know, the players he's got this year. But, you know, as far as the draft, these last 2 years, you got to give it to him. You got to say, hey, how you did your thing. You did it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, I mean, the draft night, because A.J. Brown's included. I mean, I don't know if anybody did more to help their team around the league, honestly. And I know you had 2 picks. The other thing you did was you traded it back, or traded away 1, and you have 2 for next year to ensure yourself if the quarterback situation doesn't work out. Like, they're set up pretty nicely, even in going into next year. But, you know, ultimately time's going to tell here with what's happening with this team. That's for sure.
Well, I think a true testament of what Jeffrey thinks of Howie is giving him a 3-year extension.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
What just happens the time out with the it times out with the coach's contract also. You know.
doubt.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
All right, let's step aside. We come back. We had Andy Reid on yesterday, and Andy Reid had some interesting things to say on a couple of fronts here, guys. We're going to hear from Andy on Jalen Hurts, what he thinks about him, on his approach to sort of the changing times and evolving as a coach, on the Philadelphia fans and some of the players that played for him and how special that bond is and that relationship that he has with them. So we'll do all that when we get back. He is Barrett Brooks. He is Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, so I know this is always a confusing time. You don't know quite who to trust when it comes to your finances. It can be scary, right? And you know, you're looking around and you see the commercials, whatever. Look, I got the person for you. Trust me. And I was as lost as anybody when it comes to this stuff. I reached out and I talked to my guy, Jim Murray, with Principal Financial Group, and he took care of me. He showed me the way, if you will, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review. You might have a small business and you're trying to set up your employee benefits. That's another resource that Jim can help you with. Look, for me, I entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollover with Jim, and I couldn't be happier. Things have worked out, and he's there to explain things each step along the way, which is huge if you're not an expert in the financial world. You can give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751, or simply email him, Murray, MURRAY.Jim at Principal, PRINCIPAL.com.